Yay, we're live. Welcome everybody. Told you I'd be doing the Tierlist stream today after we did our House of the Train Post casted series today on the House of the Train Post Twitch. I believe pretty soon they're going to set up the VOD for that so you can go check that out there. Hopefully they end up putting that on their YouTube channel as well. That would be pretty good. Either way, I'm going to share the link to the different discords now of our tier list stream, and we can get going into that right away. I'll start down here and work my way up. Pretty much, yep. Put that there and everywhere. Yep. I mean, I could put it in some of the D ones as well. At least one or two of them. So how are you doing today? Did you get to check out the casted series today from Definitive Edition? I enjoyed doing that one. Most definitely. You know, I haven't done a series for them in like a while, so it was good to come back and be with the D people again and, you know, go over some gameplay. Hopefully I'll get to do some more of those too. Should be pretty nice. Yeah, 100%. I think they're doing multiplayer now in Wars of Liberty. I could see Maston is showing his game or something. Yeah, that's alright. They want to check it later, that's fine. I'm just going to do my tier list stuff now. If anybody wants to jump in and help contribute to my decisions on here, that'd be great. Otherwise, I'll just come up with my own stuff. Right now, we got the past tier list, so we can reference it pretty much. Yep. It's always good when we have at least a few different opinions bouncing off of each other about how we should classify these civs pretty much. Yep. 100%. So, yeah. Where else? Maybe here. I'll probably update it again once we get the Middle East patch, the thumbnail going forward. Here, in there, and everywhere. Here. I guess I'll just do it with that server last. Alright, there we go. I think I shared it with all the servers I want to at least. So we got anybody join us or what? Any new participants in the tier list process, or does anybody want to join and help with that? I'll give you like probably, you know, about 5 or so minutes, maybe. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I'll give you a bit of a scoop on how today's House of the Train Post series went. So basically what happened was they gave me this little graphic to use as the main scene for the waiting area. Then I just used my old scene for my gameplay and send up the scoreboard and everything. And that was fun. I guess we had a French person versus a Swedish one, so I just took the white flag of surrender for the French, and then for the Swedish I put IKEA down. was a kind of a creative, funny idea I had. So yeah, that was fun. It went pretty long. It went longer than I expected. It was a really tight series that went into the 7th game. So if you do decide to check that out either on Twitch or YouTube when it does release there, I would suggest you give it a nice look at, yeah. I tried my best to cover it and do whatever I could to represent the gameplay and everything, and people were generally pretty happy with it, so that was good. I think we had about, 29, 30 people, max of 32 watching the thing. So yeah, it was a pretty good show. Yeah. I think people were just missing a lot of House of the Train posts, competitive stuff ever since the bad news came about the Definitive Edition DLC. So I wanted to be there to make sure I could deliver it, especially since everybody else wasn't available. I think Niceus wasn't available, and then I think Andrade was sick, so I had to step in for all that. Yeah. Alright, well, how many minutes are we on? 6.5. Give it a little bit more time. Oh, so what did you think about that Zero AD intro I did last night? You want to see me do more Zero AD stuff, or what? Well, I want to play it again. I want to get a little bit better at it and actually do it just like I do Age Mythology and AoE 3. Bring in some new audience and also be a change of things as well. Big time. I did some more Colosseum Budokai today, but on the new version 46. That was really neat. I like how what I did differently today was I went with the starting 300 food bonus to get a starting yield of 1, which is something really neat you can do now, because on version 44, when that also had the starting bonus, you couldn't get yield as an upgrade. Now you can get yield as an upgrade because they import all the upgrades from version 45 into 46, so it's like the best of the starting bonus and best of the new technology rework, and it's really good. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, it looks like we got someone here. Welcome. You coming to help us out with the tier list stuff? I got the template we're going to use today. This is the one from patch 1.1.2a. We're going to be doing patch 1.1.2b, which I didn't plan on doing, but because they added so many cards into the game for multiple civs, as well as making various reworks to civs like Colombia, ones to Russia, I felt like it was almost necessary that we do one of these tier list reviews. That's sort of what I reserved it for. If I felt like a patch was too minute, don't do one, but if it's like new content and stuff, yeah, you definitely need to go in there and make sure that we're acknowledging the new content and how it can affect gameplay. Since nobody else seems to do these official Wars of Liberty tier list things anymore, so yeah. Alright, so we're almost at 9 minutes now, so I'll give everybody like 1 more minute to join, and then I'll start yapping. And people are free to stop me too while I'm yapping. Because see, now that I'm doing something in the browser, I can see all your chat in real time. And then I can respond appropriately very quickly. So, yeah, hopefully, with me doing something in the browser, I'll be able to see your chats right away. And then if you have an objection to a certain civ placement, you'll go like, oh yeah, I don't think you should put Egypt in S tier. I think they should be in F tier. Or I don't think you should put Koreans in D tier. They should be in S tier. Yeah, something like that. And Y and everything. Be good. Yeah, so we're almost at the 10-minute mark right now. So you know what I'm going to do? Everybody sees this past template from 2A, right? This is what we came up with last time. Now, one thing that somebody did, which was 200 IQ, they actually removed that spare USA flag and replaced it with the Persians. So we can actually accurately represent Persia on our tier list things now, which we couldn't do before. So whoever did that, thank you very much for that. It's much appreciated. Do note that the Persian flag in the Middle East update will not look like that red one right there. I think it's purely a I think it's a texture error why it's red. Because I think originally they wanted to just do like a green flag, like the one in Napoleonic era or something. But the Persian flag that's in the real Middle East update is going to be white, gold, red, and green, I believe, with the lion. So the lion's also going to be a different hue. It's not going to be yellow like that. It's going to be like actually an orange gold color. Did you see Raphael, Charlemagne versus I saw it on my YouTube feed, but I never checked it out yet. Is it good? Do I need to see it? Yeah, I was tempted to watch it, but I was busy doing something else, and I never got around to it. Yeah, I did see it, though. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Alright, so if everybody's good, what I'm going to do is I am going to delete all this with the reset. There we go. We have reset the tier list back to default. So now we have to build this thing from scratch all over again, right? Oh yeah, exactly. So let's do it in the same order we did last time. We will start down here and we will work our way up to here, okay? So let's start with the Zulu. Zulu S tier civilization. Still an S tier civilization. Why is that? Because no significant buffs or nerfs were made to the civ, and thus, since they were S tier before, they're going to still be an S tier civilization for multiple reasons, namely strong rush mechanics. I've tried suggesting Saladin versus Tokugawa. I would love to see a Shogun in it one day. No, that's not a bad idea, actually. Yeah, no. I like that idea. Yeah, certainly. But anyways, the reason why we're doing Zulu and S tier is because Zulu has a strong aggro, one of the best aggros in the game, with the Impy, Bowman, Firebrand / Siege Trooper type thing. I think it's called an Incendiary now, right? Yep. So really good rushing, and then one of the best late games. One of the best Imperial Ages, one of the best Great War Ages, because you can take all those youths and turn them into mountain guns, which are heavy cannons. So you can have a whole army of tanks, soldiers, machine guns, you name it. And then on top of that, we can turn all the artillery into mountain guns, which effectively gives you a 400 to 500 population army, which is something most civs cannot deal with without using the Zeppelin and the mustard gas, right? It's the only thing that can equalize it. So that's why Zulu in S tier. And even economically, even though Zulu is a hard African civ to learn, they do have some helper cards like Sicil, Cultivation, and then the one for the rocks that will basically make your economy much more accessible, as well as I think it's the African Union or something, the one that makes the spice dolls spawn for free from the spice shop. That one too. So that's why we're basically going to have Zulu as an S tier civilization. Also, thanks for liking the Behemoth unit in Definitive Edition. Yeah, that was a cool unit you made. Yeah, Prox Warrior's making some really good mods in Definitive Edition 2 right now that I'm going to try out at some point. They should be really neat, yeah. So do we have any oppositioners to Zulu being an S tier by any chance? I don't think we're going to, but if you do for whatever reason, definitely point them out in the chat, and I'll happily review your case. Otherwise, we're going to go on to Uruguay. So Uruguay, S tier civilization, another S tier civilization. We put them into S tier last time, right? Now we're going to keep them in S tier because now they're actually a bit more flexible. Well, why is that exactly? Because now, if you go German immigrant starred or you go Polish immigrant starred, now you have the flexibility of shipping in Croyos from the Spanish colony starting in Age 2 now. They are for Mike Empires to use. You can use them too if you'd like. I I also made them trainable in unlikely places. Oh, that's pretty neat. Yeah, yeah. I don't know when I'd get around to it, but it sounds fun. Yep, yep. Basically, now with the Uruguayans, before you had an issue where if you wanted to spam out the Danube Legion Grenadiers as the Polish or the Batallo Diabo Uhlans of Germany, you were countered by multiple units unless you built the barracks and stuff. Now what you can do is you can make a bunch of grenadiers with the Polish and ship in numbers of Croyos with the Spanish immigrants, so you don't need a barracks. You can go all in grenadier, strong anti-infantry with a little bit of anti-cav there to not be countered by a hussar shipment, for instance. You're still not going to do well against an all-out cav attack, but at least now you have ways of turning the match around and being more flexible. That's pretty much it. What's this unit he's talking about? Illamishir that throws glow sticks is trained in mine camps. Uruguay still S tier? Aye. Well, now for legit reasons. You see, back when Uruguay was released by Hoopy here, they were an S tier civ for all the wrong reasons. Now they're an S tier civ for the right reasons. For legit reasons. Reasons that aren't rigged anymore. Yeah. I remember the good old Uruguay. The one where you could get 4 ultimatum powers, 24 immigrant technologies. Yeah, those are the best days of Uruguay ever had. Sadly, now you have to work and earn your right to win the match as Uruguay, but still, we consider them an S tier civ just because Gallego gameplay did not lose any steam when they reworked the stats to be based on the Jundi Musketeer. The clip I have on Twitch is legendary. Yeah, exactly. That'll always be remembered. Fun fact, Uruguay is first to host a World Cup and win it. Yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that. That's why back in the old days when they were making that Uruguay civ design for Wars of Liberty, they wanted to make their ultimate building a football stadium, right? Oh yeah. I remember, yeah, the good Uruguay design. Imagine if the world team actually put a literal football stadium as their ultimate building. Yeah, that would have been totally different instead of that little immigration center, whatever they got now with the pen. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, in general though, for general purposes, we put Uruguay as a S tier civ because of their very strong flexibility with immigrant units. In particular, in 1930, so that's after the Wars of Liberty period. Okay. Yeah, pretty much what Uruguay does that no other civ does really well is the fact that you can make really any immigrant unit you want in the roster when fighting, and they're all going to shadow tech because they're consulate units. So you don't even really have to worry about wood and coin to upgrade stuff. So if you're really nifty about picking your units, you can basically just go a lot more all out with your attacks because all you have to worry about is housing space. And even then, if you get the Oriental Exodus, your Bacanos are going to house 2 population. And thus, you don't even need to worry about houses anymore. So, I mean, it's a great way for setting up a really easy macro for any player to learn. Yeah. Well, train any special unit. The thing about Uruguay is they don't really have too many special units because the idea of Uruguay is that you make immigrant units. See, most civilizations, they're Latin American. Your age-ups are immigrant colonies, so you can either age up as a British wave, not a British wave, but an Irish wave, a Japanese wave, a Chinese, an Arab. They'll give you a colony, and then when you build that colony, it's like a secondary town center. You can make workers there, you can ship battalions of soldiers, or you can research technologies. The way Uruguay works is not only can you use the colonies to make those units, but you can also train them from your barracks, stable, or artillery foundry, depending on what unit class they belong to. So basically what they did with Uruguay was they have a abnormally small artillery, cavalry, and infantry roster, but they make up for that by being able to make immigrant units as regular military for resources, which is pretty good. Mainly because you don't have to upgrade the immigrants, right? You don't have to pay veteran, guard, imperials, none of that. It's like a unit that builds tempo immediately upon aging up. That's what makes it so good. Because with other civs, right, if you go for some sort of fortress age up, there's a chance that you might get punished by getting the wrong stuff, right? If you're just aging up to get veteran musketeer, it's not worth it, right? Because you have to wait for the research to be done, you have to pay resources into it. But as Uruguay, if you want to get veteran Gallegos or veteran Tanublision or the Diablos, that research is done instantly. And thus, you gain instant reward for aging up. Not to mention you can build another immigrant colony depending on what you pick. And then you're actually able to make immediate rewards on it too. And if you already have a barracks and stable, you can start making those new immigrant units immediately. Otherwise, you can wait for that colony to be done, and then you can start shipping them in. After I'd done one mod, I might make a mod that adds Croats, Phoenicians, Galicians, maybe later Aragonese, Sardinians, and Serbs and possibly Navarrese. That sounds a lot like Portuguese Civ mod stuff, namely the Galicians, Aragonese, Navarrese, and yeah. Well, replaces if not add pretty much. Well, yeah. I think that's what most of these new AoE 2 mods do, right? I don't think they can actually add in new entries into the UI, right? Yeah, in the old game you could do that. You know, Portuguese Civ mod added new civs in without, but yeah. Definitely. So, is everybody fine with S tier Uruguay today, or do you have opposition to that? I mean, I don't think too many people are going to oppose S tier Uruguay just because of the nature of how they're able to perform and everything. Yeah. Now, here's another one that we have, Tupi. Tupi we could probably put in the B tier, right? Is that fine? Yeah, we'll put Tupi in the B tier. Just because Tupi, while a very powerful swarm rush civ, does have some glaring weaknesses that we discuss every time. Namely, they have the issue of being totally reliant on a resource that is not renewable on maps most of the time. So, the problem with Tupi is they can only gather two resources, the food and the wood. And the fact that they can only gather the food and the wood means that they can't really do anything if the trees are gone, right? That's where Tupi sort of falls off the ravine, I guess, is that they can't do anything without trees on the map. So if you're playing Sahara, where you're playing another desert map that doesn't have a lot of trees, your time as a Tupi is going to be very limited. Very limited. Even with crate support. So that's a glaring weakness right there. But let's just talk regular maps that have trees like the ESOC maps. Where does Tupi have risks there? Well, namely, they got low hit point buildings. If a player is quicker than you are, knows what they're doing, they can raise your longhouse. They can raise your orcas, cutting off your population. They can take out your war hut. They can even snipe your town center for that matter. Because I believe there's some P-Tard units in the game that can down a Tupi town center with just one unit. That's something you can't do with other civs, because most civs have town centers that have about 6.5k hit points. Tupi's town center is about 2.6k hit points. So if I have like a Nitro P-Tard or something, you can conceivably take it down with just one of them. Which is very bad, you know, very, very risky. Because depending on how the Tupi base is oriented, that could be a GG right there. So that's why Tupi, performance-wise, really isn't a S-tier civ. The thing that makes Tupi shine is their swarm rushes, combining archers, spearmen, and coyote runner type units all into one mix. If it's not for that, really, they kind of fall apart, because there's a lot of civs that have a lot better units out there that'll just beat them if Tupi keep the swarm going, or the other player gets a sizable mass. As Tupi, you need to attack fast and with large numbers. If you can't do that, depend on the map, whatever, or even just treasures, RNG, skill level differences. That's why Tupi not that big of a situation. Probably could add Leonese, Lombards, and likely Albanians. Yeah, those would be good. Those would be good. Some good factions. So yeah, two in the mud. Oh yeah, most definitely, 100%. Yeah. So does anybody think Tupi should be an A tier civ, and is there anybody that thinks that they should be a C tier civ? I mean, personally, I would feel kind of weird if I put them down in the lower half of the tiers, just because they do perform really well in rush games. And I have been able to use Tupi against high-seeded opponents before in tournaments in the past. Like that Greek Isak player back in the Legacy game, I actually beat him with the Tupi, as well as various other high-level opponents, depending on what their build order was. So, I mean, we got to give Tupi some credit there. So I think B tier is fine. It either does really well or it does really bad. And if you're on a map that doesn't have the trees, then watch out. I guess that's a good summary there. Tupi could be B. All right. Yeah, it's good that you see that too. Yeah, now Sweden. I think probably an A tier civ. Yeah, Sweden in a lot of exchanges is going to do really well. Namely because they have a very flexible musketeer unit, the Beverlangar, which has good movement speed, has a trash unit cost, so you don't need coin for it. So if you do need to stay back near your trees and berries, you can still make them. And they got some great siege. They're basically a pike and a musketeer hybrid. So Beverlangar is probably one of the best musketeers in the game for competitive, just because of movement speed, siege, melee multipliers, and so much more. Also, to tie into that, you have the allotment system that lets you send in huge stacks of the Beverlangars into stacks against your opponent, which can be very dangerous, right? To boot, Sweden does not suffer the same problem that the Tupi does in terms of wood. You know why? They get these buildings called sawmills. You can build one at the start of the game, and then Norland Login lets you build a second sawmill. They will trickle wood, and they will offer piles of 100 cords of wood around the base of the building. So Sweden will never run out of wood, at least if you play them correctly, right? Yeah, and of course you can still use your factory as well, which you get one of from the home cities, so you can do a factory and 2 sawmills. Works pretty well. Other than Beverlangars, though, you got a lot of cavalry flexibility that you don't normally have. So let's say there's no coin mines on the map, right? And you need assault, scout, maneuver classes. You can use a technology from the Hof called the Dollar Horse to change all the coin costs to wood costs on your cavalry. So you can make wood costing hussars, wood costing dragoons, and wood costing hussartroopes, which is your splash attack wielding assault unit. So in that sense, Sweden has a unique way of using wood to their advantage, as well as a bunch of other small advantages, like the Nordenfelt guns being one of the few artillery units designed to deal with cavalry. Yeah, you got that as well. Most definitely. So you got that. Yeah, in general, Sweden's not an S tier civ. There's clearly a bunch of civs like Ottomans, amongst others Germany, that will probably beat the Swedes out hand over fist pretty much. But I would say for certain that Sweden will beat most of the civilizations in this list, just because of their kiting capabilities as well as their boom and everything else. Yeah. From there, we got Spain. So Spain, I'd probably put it like somewhere in the A tier. Yeah, they got a pretty solid musketeer game plan, pretty much. They got all the advantages of Legacy Spain, like the war dogs, the quicker access to shipments. It's there's really no reason to put them anything lower than A tier. One thing that they do have that not a lot of civs do is the ability to do a 3 Falconet Fast Fortress. You heard that right, a 3 Falconet Fast Fortress. So they got some politician called the Heroine, not the Halloween or something like that. It's like a hero, a Spanish female hero or something, where you essentially get a Falconet, and then from there you can ship in 2 more Falconets, and there you go. You got 3 Falconets, and then you can back it up with line infantry. You can ship in cuirassiers, which you can do in Wars of Liberty, which you can't do in Legacy, right? In Legacy, you got the Lancers. Wars of Liberty sort of just removed them and gave them fully functioning French cuirassiers like they did with a lot of the civilizations. And that's a pretty good build for Spain to do in multiplayer, right? But even in late game, Spain has some good units. They got cuirassiers, obviously. They got the batadors to help the movement speed of cavalry. They got missionaries that start out with functions, so you don't need to put a separate card in for that, which is pretty huge. Means that they're viable in any game, that you can afford a church and the creation of missionaries. Yeah, so I think Spain in general is going to be very good in 1v1s. It's going to be great in team games. It's pretty flexible, you know. It's as flexible as it was in the Asian dynasties, maybe even a bit more so because of, you know, their stronger fast fortress potential with 3 Falconets and things like that. Yeah. Now, in terms of like Sweden versus Spain, I would say probably Sweden's going to do better just because Beverengars with good management can probably outdo the Spanish line infantry, and I don't think missionary deployment will exactly help them against the Beverengar tactics just because of the movement speed. So that's why I'm sort of going to keep Spain where it is. Yeah, that's why I'm going to do that. So now we got the Serbs. Serbs, I mean, I still think Serbs are probably an A-tier civ. What do you think? We've seen Cappy use this civ quite a bit, and it generally performs pretty well. It's very good early game with the 3 Hajduk age up, followed by recruits and more Hajduci. And that generally works pretty good, performance-wise. Economically, you know, they get a good card that gives them a bunch of peasants after so many minutes in the game, which is good. They got infinite 4 peasants. It's nothing to complain about there. Performance-wise, you do have the Iron Regiment still, which still does a pretty good job at boosting up the recruits. So yeah, I'm just going to leave Serbs where they are right now, you know. They're also one of the only, what makes them really good in the Great War Age, if we want to consider that aspect of things. Serbs can actually get more range on their anti-aircraft artillery, which no other civ gets that, right? They get an upgrade that actually makes their anti-aircraft guns more effective, and they can hit bombers, fighter planes, and zeppelins from longer range, which basically makes all your AAAs more efficient. They can hit farther away, which is quite good. Quite good, actually. Yeah. And then from there, we got Russia. Also, any opposition to Spain or Serbia? If there's no opposition to these, I'm kind of just going to leave them there for now. Now, Russia's one that we really need to talk about this patch. Russia had some very big changes. So what happened with Russia was they took the Plastuni unit, which was an assault unit from the blockhouse, right? And they turned it into a more cavalry base treasure collecting unit thingy. So you know how the Spanish explorer can make war dogs, right? Now the Spanish, the Russian officer, because now explorers in the game are called officers now. Your officer as Russia can make Plastunis with the build limit of about 7. And what did they do with the stats? They turned it from an assault unit to a scout unit. That means that it's in the same class as hussars now and no longer that of mosquiteros and cuirassiers anymore. Its hand armor was replaced with pierce armor. It's only costs food now. It doesn't count against your population at all, which is pretty big. But it did lose stats. They reduced the hit points. They reduced the damage. But it does keep its charge attack, which is really neat. The splash attack is retained. So yeah, now Russia is one of the best treasure collecting civs in the game, right? It is. It literally is. If you have enough food to spare, you can build a couple of pastunis and get some treasures you normally wouldn't be able to do with any civilization. Yeah, and unlike Spain, which just has dogs, right? These pastunis are actually a decent low-grade hussar unit, right? Not to mention, there is a new card for Russia in Age 2 that gives your explorer an aura that boosts the hit points and attack of nearby pastunis. So essentially, not only have they given you this new explorer's assistant against treasures, but as soon as you get into Age 2 and you're rushing your opponents the way you normally would as Russia, you can now use your explorer with the swarm of these pastunis as a means to disable their skirmishers, any early artillery like the artisanal cannons, petards, grenadiers. You got a lot more flexibility now. And honestly, the pastuni is looking like an even more useful unit as this sort of treasure guardian defeating support unit now. Because since it's mainly deals with treasure guardians now, they did add a multiplier against treasure guardians to it too. So yeah, it can be used against skirms, artillery, and treasure guardians. So for that reason, I'm probably going to put them somewhere. I'll probably put them ahead of Spain because honestly, I feel like the pastuni mechanic just works a lot better than Spain has. Also, I feel like the pressure that the Russians can do with their infantry is a lot better with what the Spanish can do, because for the Spanish to reach their full potential in an infantry combat situation, they need to be able to afford a church and to get missionaries, which is pretty expensive, right? Russia, they just need their blockhouse and to do their old school spam and everything's fine. Yeah. As far as the single villager training is concerned, at this point I've sort of determined that it's not a detriment at all to be able to train one settler at a time as Russia. It's actually pretty okay, you know. Nothing too concerning has arisen from that, at least from what I've seen. So I'm just going to stick them slightly ahead of Spain, but still behind Sweden, because Sweden, of course, with their kiting ability, movement speed, and all that, will still be able to trip through most of the Russian line infantry stuff. The only thing Sweden has to worry about, obviously, is the cantoness. Yeah. And of course, Beverangars with their really good multipliers would clean up most pastunis anyways. So yeah, combat-wise, we're going to just keep Russia below Sweden for now. Most definitely. Now, Romania. Romania, I'm going to look at the changelog real quick and see if they did anything significant with Romania that we have to look at and study. I don't think so, though. Let me just double check real quick. I can pull up the changelog right here and we can actually look at it together, which is pretty neat. Alright, so here we are. Alright, so what changes were done to Romania, maybe? This thing, do you love how long it takes to load a Google document? It's crazy. Shouldn't take that long to load a Google Doc. It's like, it's probably the CPU usage of, you know. So they didn't make any changes to the Romanians, alright. Because that's really important, we have to check that. Now, there's a card for Mexico that I haven't seen before that I might want to go look at when we do Mexico. Because I think we're still going to keep Mexico in a very high level position on the tier list, just saying. There's really no reason to do anything else with them. So yeah, we're just going to keep Romania where they are, because I don't think Romania has really gained any additional stuff. Basically, to really put them above. Because the thing is let's look at that game we did during the stream last week with Ungers. Goimistan was doing pretty well with Romania there, but he just wasn't able to snag any win. He had Cappy on his team and he had Cappy on his team and Masson on his team, so some pretty good players there. And Romania just wasn't performing well for him. So I mean, that's a problem with Romania. They got some really interesting quirks that can work really well, but when it's down to bare bones stats, like head to head, Romania kind of just falls off the page of the paper, basically. Yeah, that's what I would say with that. A few exceptions, like the Vantori with its high HP, obviously. Being able to make falconets instead of mule artillery by choice with the card, that's pretty big. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but I think in general, we probably want to keep Romania towards the bottom of not at the bottom, but definitely in C tier, just below Tupi. Yeah, definitely on that one. Right. Yeah. As for Portuguese, we could put Portuguese. I'm going to put them maybe over here for now. That's because we have definitely seen in a game between Cappy and somebody else during my Cassie game stream this week that a 1v1 Germany versus Portugal, the Germany will always win. Very easily, actually. Yeah, very easily. Because if you get a Portugal that does a fast industrial and you get a Germany that does a full boom, the Germany will just beat the Portugal every time. So I think with that being said, any civ that we know, especially the ones in the S tier that can boom out either their military, economy, or both, are just always going to beat Portugal. That's just a fact. You definitely do need to acknowledge Portugal's strong turtling ability with the covered wagon age ups. But yeah, I don't see them going into S tier category. Because I used to say, oh yeah, Portugal, that's an easy S tier civ. They're totally impossible to deal with, right? That's only on the big maps, but if you're playing like a competitive map, there's very few competitive maps where Portugal can just get away with an easy win like that. They do need to be careful of aggression. Players like Chapo and others know how to deal with them very finely. Yeah, so we're just going to keep them in C tier. Plus the fact that they don't have any god-broken units anymore, like the Atirador and the old Ultramarino stats. So I think that's a pretty clear one for us to look at, honestly. Yeah. If you have any opposition to that, definitely let me know. If you think Portugal, is an S-tier civilization, or you think that they're even worse than what we're grading them as, definitely give me your thoughts on that, notes, whatever. Yep, definitely. Alright, so now we're on to the next one. We will be doing the Peruvians now. Alright, so Peruvians. I don't know what to do with them. Should we put them here? Should we put them here? Here or here? Here or here? Can I try to do something crazy and actually put them up here? And there's this very specific reason I want to do that. Very big reason, actually. Actually, a few reasons. There's a few reasons I want to do that. 2 reasons. So, reason why I want to consider Peru to be a A-tier civ now, even a low-level one, because Peru now has some more reliable late game than they did before. And how is that possible? Well, they made some reworks to the Peruvian home city in this patch. They got rid of Andean attack and Andean hit points. And I just got a quick phone call and I had to check an address for somebody. That's why you saw me type in there for a few seconds. Yeah, so what I was basically trying to say is now Peru, I feel like, has a more reliable late game than they did before, because obviously the Peru that we were spamming for the last patch involved us just spamming Branieros with Pardos and Mushateros. But obviously those are mostly trash units, right? More expensive food and coin stuff will naturally counter that. But what happened now was Maston removed Andean hit points and Andean attack from the Branieros and Mushateros, as well as removing some of the combat cards for the sailors, the ones that went to the sailor and the Guardian Marina. And now we got 3 new combat cards called, I think they're Sierra. Yep, Sierra Combat. You got Sierra Combat, Sierra Hit Points, and Sierra Attack. That goes to the Lancero and the Vivendera. So what does that mean? You still got the very powerful tempo Branieros start, but now as you go into the late game and Branieros are no longer going to be as reliable against stronger heavy infantry, now you can make the transition to Vivenderas safely, not only through the Sierra combat cards, but also through the Royal Guard Rabona for the Vivendera, for the Juanita Pluana, yeah. Same thing with the Lanceros. Now your Lanceros are going to be even better against skirms. So if you're running into muskets, just make Rabonas. If you're dealing with the skirms, then you just make the Royal Guard Lanceros then to deal with that. I think they're, what's their name? Husare something. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting unit because it's the only Royal Guard upgrade for the Lanceros that actually changes their weapon from a lance to a sword, and they actually start fighting like a hussar after they research it. So yeah, that's pretty neat. But yeah, basically now you got more reliable scout and skirmish options for Peru in the late game, at the cost obviously of your naval infantry, which, come on, naval infantry, is that really good anymore? Nope. Most cases, nope. So that really isn't a factor, and then we're just giving up 15% hit points on the Branieros and Mushateros. That's really fine, since Mushateros can't even be made past the, they can't even get the Guard or Imperial upgrades anyways as Peru anymore. So yeah, you're really just losing 15% stats on the Braniero and attack and hit points on the Braniero in the late game, and that's it. That's literally the only notable difference. And it's not that bad, I much prefer having 30% better stats on my Lanceros and Vivenderas. So that's why we have Peru as a tier civ. And then the other slight reason too is that now you can start to ship in musketeers as Peru, the criollos from the Spanish colony, starting in age 2 now. Because of the bug in last patch, you had to wait till age 3 to do that. Now we can do that out of the gate. So now you got a little bit of the thing that you never had, which was muskets, and then now really good late game skirms and Lanceros. And that's why I kind of want to keep Peru at the edge of A tier now, just because I feel like those are such notable things that we need to consider that, right? Yeah, definitely. So what are we going to do now with this other civ? And is there any opposition to Peru being moved up to here now? I just think that they belong up there. Just because of the cards. The cards really justify it. I would even do this. You might think I'm insane. I might even take Peru and put them ahead of the Serbs. You know why? Because I feel like if we're in a team game, right? And this is only for team game cases, but might hold true in 1v1. I think you might be able to outnumber the Serbs really well with the Branieros. That's at least a theory I have about it. I would have to test it out, but that's just a theory I have. And I think, I think Peru might just barely go ahead of the Serbs now, just because they got really tanky, durable scout units now to deal with them. So I'm going to put Peru slightly ahead of the Serbs now and see where that goes. Yeah, definitely. Now we got the Persians. The unfinished Persian Civ here. So this, what do we do with this? I might move them ahead of Romanians. You know why? Because they got the military roster of the Ottomans, and then they ship Portuguese home city shipments, including halberdiers, organ guns, musketeers, stuff like that. Cazadors too. So I think if you are going to run this weird, technically cheat civ in your games, I think that Persia is generally going to be better than Romania, just because you're combining Cazadors with Abyss gunners, Janissaries, bombards, also organ guns. It's like a very strange combo you would never see. So, yeah, I'm gonna keep I am gonna keep Persia here at C tier, just ahead of Romania now, and I rest my case on that one. I don't think anybody here has even played that civ before. They might have, but I'm gonna keep them there for now. If you have any different ideas, definitely let me know. 100%. Yep, and alright, now we will go on to the next civ, Paraguay. Paraguay. Now, this is a good question for us. Do we keep Paraguay ahead of Tupi or behind Tupi? I would say maybe now. I want to be very careful about this, how I put this. Is it safe to say that Paraguay might be better than Tupi now? Are we kind of at that juncture? We might be, because I've been looking at new builds like the one for the Matrero build, and now we can make H2 Croyos. It might just barely be enough to overcome Tupi in the early game. I'm almost confident we might be at the point where we can finally start overcoming the Tupi in 1v1s as Paraguay. So I might put Tupi behind the Paraguayans. Do you think maybe with the Croyos and the Matrero builds now that we can actually overcome the Tupi finally, or do you think Tupi are still way ahead? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't even know. I'm thinking it's 50-50, really. So we'd have to test that theory. I'm willing to put Paraguay slightly ahead of Tupi here. If you have any suggestions yourself, you're more than free to say them, honestly. Yeah, all right. So now we're on to the next one, the Ottomans. Ottomans, S tier ahead of both Zulu and Uruguay. And if you haven't faced a game against Cappy before, you might want to go do that before you say, why are you doing that? Because you might be like the old man, like, oh yeah, no, they don't have veteran and guard upgrades anymore. Why would you want that civ? And it's like, man, you haven't seen Cappy win Ottomans in Age 2 before with Abyss Janissary and even full Janissary rushes and stuff. And even the Fast Fortress and Industrial builds are still viable. So Ottomans are still an S tier civ that can beat all of these with Abyss Janissary or some other type of build. I mean, I don't think it should be the case, especially since they have less than they do in the Asian dynasties to work with, but they still somehow stay up here, which is actually pretty remarkable when you think about it. Like, You would never expect a Civ to be that high in the rankings, especially considering, they lost things. They didn't gain things from this mod. They actually lost things, which, you wouldn't expect. Alright, so now we're going to do Mexico. And I guess they got some new card that we want to look at, right? I haven't looked at the card before, but I want to check it out now. Boy, that was a big sneeze. Ugh. So now I'm going to check out that Mexican card that Maston was talking about in the patch notes here. See if we can learn a bit more about it. Scrolly. Alright. So what's this card called now? It is called Defensa de Churubusco. Let's boot up the game right now and see what that card actually is all about, if you don't mind. I just want to see what it is, because I haven't looked at it before. I got so many windows open from the stream today, it's not even funny. Alright, finally, here we go. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it is. Actually, I don't think you can see it because I set it up a certain way in the OBS. It's totally fine. I'm just going to read it myself and tell you what it is. Alright, should be loaded pretty soon, right? Yeah, I'm hoping. Definitely hoping. Well, it's still loading. I can see the coin spinning. There we go. Alright, so let me check out my Mexico home city and see what this card is and what it's all about. Alright, let's see. Mexico City, Mexico. So where's this card that we're seeing? Castrumbo, Presidio. So it's not there. Is it over here? It's not over here, right? No. Is it over here? Ooh, Defensa de Churubusco. Delivers an Irish colony with St. Patrick's Day available for free and enables San Patricios at foundries. Oh, wow. Ooh, wow. I did not know that. Now, that is really good. Like, if you don't know any Mexican-American war history, the Patricios were basically Irish mercenaries that fought for the Mexican army under Santa Anna against the Americans. Yeah, we had to deal with Irish in Mexico. That was actually something we had to deal with. So it's cool that we see, Irish immigrants being added to Mexico. I did not know about this. This is a wonderful card. I can't believe I missed this. Wow. Wow. Ooh. I might want to do that after the stream today. I want to try that. That's delicious. That's a neat surprise. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to put Mexico into the S tier. Why? Because we did that last time, and now they got literal Irish immigrants enabled from the home city. You can't tell me this is not an S tier civilization. They got great turtling. They actually punish you for defeating their villagers as long as you have Dia de la Muertos research from the home city. You can't tell me that Mexico is not an S tier civilization. They are legendary civilization. 100%. We gotta have Mexico as an S tier civ. Not only the economy is good, the booming is good, the defenses are good. They got a lot of upgrade cards for Mexico. Yeah. Really great stuff. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. I think the Irish thing just pushed it over the top for me, seeing that. Like, because now we can do French CSA and Irish immigrants all together now in like synergy. Or we could go full French with Irish and get artillery and stuff. Like, we don't even need to go into the dynamite cans anymore. We could just get the faster moving San Patricio cans instead. This is very big setup there. Oh yeah, can't even make that up. That's very good. I did not even see that one coming. That's a great surprise. Yeah. So, all right, let's look at Mapuche. For right now, I'll just stick them here. A-tier Civ. Well, mainly because they have a very good amount of card diversity. Namely, they bring every card from their home city to every game. The concept of decks does not exist for Mapuche because instead of having decks, each of your 6 war chiefs has a set of cards that he can research for shipment and sometimes some coin as well. So, yeah, basically, you can have like literally every card in your entire deck research in one game as Mapuche, and that alone is pretty intimidating. Not only that, they have some very strong unit rolls that worked well together. Like, they get an assault unit, the Trengolaf, which is basically a foot version of the Spanish Lancer, which works really well. They do get a Spanish Lancer that has extra hit points. They get a strong Dragoon unit. They get some okay artillery and can actually increase their range from a big bun from the Foundry. They get some good native warrior improvements. Yeah, I mean, Mapuche is actually a pretty solid civ all around. I mean, can't complain. They got a good economy. Not something you see a lot with the Native American civs, but they do get a great economy because they get a lot of good eco cards. Right, they get 3 for farming, 3 for plantation. It's quite good. Definitely should check the Mapuche out if you don't like most Native American civs, because the Mapuche are very modern-ish type civ in that regard. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, can't complain about them too much. Really not. Yeah, Maori. I don't think they did anything with the Maori, right, to make them better, so we're just going to keep them in D tier. You know, very vulnerable most of the time. Every now and then, if it's a big team game or a certain situation, Maori's going to just take over the game with their builds. Really fun builds, by the way, but if anybody's smart enough to pop the bubble, as they say, then you just deflate. Yeah, that's basically the issue with Maori. Their way of basically having to get really expensive, long time age ups to get big rewards just can be very punishing for them to do well. And, you know, they're just missing certain unit classes as well. Like, they don't have maneuver units, they don't have assault units. They literally just get skirmish, melee, heavy infantry, and scout. And then artillery. So no muskets, no dragoons, and no cuirassiers or lancers. That can be very problematic at times. So, yeah, also no naval infantry if you care about that either. So, I mean, yeah, that's definitely concerning. Definitely a big issue. Lakota. I mean, I could put Lakota down here, honestly, nowadays, because Pro Riders are not that great anymore. Just saying. Like, they don't have multipliers against the scout units anymore, so you literally can't use bow riders to fight hussars. So bow riders, for whatever reason, we're trying to raid your base. Guess what? Now you can chase them with hussars and almost win most of the time with them. Yeah. Also, rifle riders naturally lose a lot of strength now due to their, same issue. Also, the fact that the team decided to give them a skirmish tag now, even worse. Because that means Lanceros can actually defeat rifle riders in melee. So not only is there like a 50-50 chance that a scout unit can defeat a rifle rider, which is supposed to be maneuver, right? But if it's one with multipliers against skirmishers, like the Lancero, Iron Flails, Sowars, anything like... Well, the Iron Flail is an assault unit, so that's an even spookier case, because an Iron Flail assault unit could potentially wreck a couple of rifle riders if they're not careful now. Same thing with Mahouts. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I would put them behind Romania too, because at least Romania has some consistency, and their units can be good in a lot of situations, whereas Lakota, depends on certain niche situations to be completely doable. Yeah. So that's why I'm going to put Lakota down there. If you think we could move Lakota up at all, yeah, let me know. Let me know, definitely. Definitely let me know that. Korea, let's just keep Korea there. I don't really see a reason to move Korea around at all. Korea is still a very solid S-tier Civihev Armaments that can beat Janissary Abyss when done correctly with the right macro and everything. So we're going to keep Korea where they are. I really haven't seen any nerf to them at all. I mean, I could look at the patch notes again. Maybe I'll just keep them up, perhaps. Yeah, nope, not that. Where is the patch notes? Right here. Nope, not that. Where is the patch notes? Here we go. Yeah, I just want to see if they buffed or nerfed Koreans at all, because I think, at least for now, if Korea's where they've always been, we really don't need to do anything too much with them, honestly. No, definitely not. What about Asians? Anything for Koreans? Nope, doesn't look like it. I don't see anything for the Koreans here. It's all Anglophonies, Europeans, Latin, and then it goes right into nation states like that. Alright, so nothing for the Koreans. So we're going to keep them in their same S-tier position. As a recap, we consider Korea to be S-tier because their Myung Archer and Think Spearman synergy thing works really well for early game. Got some great conflict options to synergize with it and make huge rushes. They got some strong things like Lure of the Mountains to get pets involved. That adds an even bigger crunch into their attacks. They got great boom with the Grand Palace. Korea just gets a lot of advantages. Hands down. Also, their ability to move military soldiers into buildings and being able to ambush and stuff. Something no other Civ can do, so that's why we really put Korea high up on the list there, pretty much. Yeah, big time. As for Japan, what do we do with Japan? Hop on. We do a hop on. I might put hop on right here, actually. Because I feel like a really strong Zulu can actually destroy Japan pretty easily. Whereas Japan can beat I believe they could beat Uruguay now pretty easily, because we're no longer dealing with Janissary stats on the Gallegos. They're based off of the stats of the Jundi, which is going to be an Arab variant Middle East unit. So, yeah. Will it come to DE? Maybe. But you're going to have to pay for it, as well as everybody else here. Because the world team said it's going to cost money to do, and they're not going to do that thing for free because of how painful it is. Take all this code and transform it into Definitive Edition code. That would be really scary to do. So we could totally get this in Definitive Edition, but it's going to take some funding, I mean, I'll fund it. If you can guarantee my channel gets a certain amount of money every month, to really profit and I can live a comfortable lifestyle, I'll pay for Wars of Liberty to go to Definition for my benefit and theirs. I'd totally love for that project to be done. Most definitely. Oh yeah, 100%. Totally be into that. That's the problem. It's just you have to redo all the art again, it's really tricky to do pretty much. Because I guess there wasn't a complete total 1-to-1 on the code. They actually have to do a lot of the XML over again. That could take months, if not years, to do. So, I mean, that's why you don't see any real efforts at that. Really, yeah. And I guess a slight other reason why we consider Japan to still be in the S tier here is maybe because their isolation options are a bit better in Wars of Liberty, I think. So that's just one slight reason why to keep Japan up at that level. Yeah, definitely. 100%. I do think Hiei's in Wars of Liberty are definitely stronger than Yumi Archers in Definition, seeing what they were today in that game. So, yeah, I feel pretty confident in keeping Japan up there right now, honestly. Yeah, so from here, we're going to do Italy. Italy, probably a B tier civ, probably at the tail end of it. For reasons I've explained in the past, basically Italy has a pretty... It can be a strong bonus, but it's usually not that useful in the early game, is their architects being able to use wagons to build stuff. In the late game, it's really good, because then you can have like one architect there putting out a bunch of wagons and stuff, like multitasking like crazy. But in the early game, it's like nothing. And they do get some great units like the Alpini with its extra range and the Basigliati. Also having Royal Guard Pikes is good. But yeah, they're like a bland generic European civ otherwise, and that just really does not reward them going to your S tier, I think. But they're not bad. They're not missing anything that they should have. Like they got hussars, they got cuirassiers, they got muskets, they got pikes, they got rangers, they got longer range skirms, they got grenadiers. So it's like they basically got everything that they need. So that's why they're not in the C tier and below. But they're definitely not. Their bonuses are like okay. Like the mafioso thing, same thing. Sometimes it does great, other times not much, For a unit that really gets a Tommy gun as a technology, you would think it would be a lot stronger, but it's really not. Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. I mean, I'll put India here, I think, ahead of the Puche, just because I feel like Sepoy Mahout will definitely outdo whatever the Mapuche can do, especially with the Agrifort. But yeah, in general, India is still a very strong civ in Wars of Liberty. In fact, I believe the Yorumis in some situations can actually be stronger now, because now they were changed from skirmish to scout, which means Salwars and stuff no longer really do as much damage to the Yorumis. The only thing they have to worry about now is like musketeers, but again, they're countering the musketeers, so it's like, yeah, I just think Yorumis are stronger in Wars of Liberty. Not to mention they're really good consulate options. French really good now. Ottoman's clearly giving you Abyss guns. Can't argue with that. You really can't. So yeah, India being in the A tier, that's fine. 100% fine. And then Inca, well, let me think. We could do with Inca. We could put Inca ahead of a lot of this stuff, right? I'll put it right here or something, I don't know. Maybe we can find a better place for it later. I think Inca, just because of the Huamaka stuff I've been seeing lately with Veringo, that cringe Huamaka stuff, we got to keep them at a high level like that. Yeah. Basically, what makes Inca OP is the Tuamaka unit, but I don't think it's good enough to beat any of the S tier civs, though. If you come with a really strong S tier civ like Japan, Uruguay, Zulu, Mexico, Inca can't deal with it. But if it's anything below that, Huamaca spamming with a few Boles warriors or Akarunas should clean that up. Also considering playing around the big buns with the Manco horsemen too. It's another reason I have them up there. Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, I think I'll keep it up there for that reason. Haudenosaunee, I'll put Haudenosaunee right here. I can put Haudenosaunee right there, right? Oh yeah, I can put Haudenosaunee right there. Basically as strong as it is in the 5th edition or Legacy, pretty much. Not really losing anything. If anything, Kanye West Horsemen are a bit tankier now because of the whole Scout versus Assault thing. So I'll keep them up there. Haiti. Now, Haiti's an interesting one. Haiti, we could maybe put it ahead of Uruguay. Yeah. I'm just wondering, do you think a Jundi spamming Uruguay is better than a Haiti doing musketeros and all sorts of other stuff? I think maybe. I think that might be a... Yeah, I think I might do that. Yeah. I think Haiti might be a bit better there. You know why? Because I saw them the other day spamming out musketeros and I was like, you know, this is pretty okay against infantry, so yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm just thinking if amassing Uruguay with Jundi, Static, Gallegos is really better than a Haiti that can add other units in with the Gallegos. Yeah. Just because of the unit flexibility in early game of Haiti, I think I'm just going to put them slightly ahead of Uruguay. Also, there are neat little perks like the ability to have 5 coin works, the chicken coop thing, all that. I think that basically puts them slightly ahead. I think this is what we did last time, right? Yeah. I mean, I guess one point of shame is they don't have Spanish immigrant card, so they don't have that, I guess. Yeah. Alright, the Greeks. I'll put Greeks here as a symbol because when it's a water map, they're up here. If it's a land map, they're probably down here. So let's just put them here for symbolic reasons. Because the main idea of Greece is they produce fishing boats for free from their docks over time. So their docks are like Ottoman town centers to your economy. Yeah, that's what kind of makes them really good on war maps exclusively. But if it's like a pure land map, then they play about as average as any nation state civ with a few advantages here and there. Namely, their Clapes are going to have more range than the Hajusi is, but less damage. They're going to have some decent booster cards, depending on what politicians you go with. So yeah, that's basically why I'm going with that one there, pretty much. Alright, so Germany. Germany, I'll put Germany here. Yeah, I'll put Germany there. Because I feel like Germany back-to-back is always going to be able to outboom the Mexicans. Because Mariner booming Germany with the Habrike plan is definitely going to outperform Mexico on a TC and the Presidio or two most of the time. So, I mean, that's a pretty clear one. Also, the fact that I feel like Needle Gun card with the Maykoffer line infantry of Cappy Germany is usually just going to outdo the extra range on the Conscriptos for Mexico, usually. Usually, I guess. I mean, if you're kiting really well, maybe Mexico can do a bit better, like I did against Omar. But, yeah, that's why I have that at there right now, pretty much. I don't really see Mexico. Oh yeah, there's one aspect to this Germany too that I might want to touch on as well. So if we look here at the patch notes, right? They did, and this is the card that boosts the Posunis, by the way, too, Beluva, just so you're aware. They reworked the Landwehr Cavalry unit. So they increased the hit points on it. I think they reduced its armor. They reduced the cost to 100 food. Reduced building attack a bit. Hand attack is down a bit. Now it has the same multipliers as other emergency units. So, yeah, I figured I just wanted to point that out to you, that that's like another side little thing going on pretty much. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know. Like, I think they should have also removed all the unit tags besides shock, I think, as well, technically. But maybe I'm overthinking it a bit. But, yeah. In some ways, that's a bit better now, because that means essentially your Landwehr Cavalry emergency unit in those situations is going to be a bit more durable now in hit points against melee attacks. So, I mean, isn't that a little nice? Yeah, it is a little nice. So, yeah, definitely pretty positive there. And Francia, I'll put France behind Uruguay. I feel like in general France, with all their new units and stuff, has been performing really well. Like really, really well, actually. Very, very well, actually. And yeah, I'll definitely consider them being a S tier civ now. Because we saw on that day with Ungers, the Ungers was actually able to perform a 2 versus 1 against Cap and Guimastan as France, Wars of Liberty France. So they must be a really good civ. Because he was using the Chasseurs, its waves, the Chevalier Cuirassiers, the Saint-Guard Cuirassiers. He was using everything under the sun. And he just was doing really well with France. So I think that's a good sign that they should indeed be in the S tier category. Just saying. Most definitely. So yeah. I don't really see France going anywhere for a while. You'd have to change quite a bit actually to do that. Oh yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Ethiopia? Ethi. What do we do with Ethi? Ethi. I'll put Ethi here. This is usually what we do, right? We put them at the front end of A tier, just because of their stronger turtling ability than Portuguese, better military, better economy potential. Yeah, I think that's generally what it comes down to, is that Ethiopia has really good eco potential with all their card options. Also, their strong growth in their military, their turtling ability. Now, if it's purely 1v1, Ethiopia's half and half, depend on the map. But if it's a team game, Ethiopia usually wins the game almost every time. So yeah, we'll definitely put them like right at the cusp of S tier almost. But yeah. Now, Egypt can go probably, if we're being frankly honest about Egypt, I would put Egypt right there. I think it's kind of a joke sticking him in the F tier because, look, if you have a strong player and you got somebody running the Egypt build, the Egypt build is going to win most games. Yeah, the Egypt build is just generally pretty successful. Yeah. Like every time I have like Ungers or Cap or someone on my team and I'm running the Egypt build or Kaiser, yeah, we're going to win. Like, we got to give Egypt a little bit of credit here. So I'm not going to put him in the F tier, but I am going to stick him in the D tier with the Maori then. Because they kind of suffer from the same problem Maori does, where in team games where they're given their own chance to do their own thing, Egypt does really well. Same thing with Maori. They do really well with what they do. But, yeah, it's just really limited, I guess you could say. Oh yeah, so I think that's pretty appropriate there. Dutch. What to do with Dutch? Was there any major changes to Dutch we have to look at? I don't think so. Nah, they didn't change Dutch. So Dutch is going in the same spot we did last time. They're going to be between Koreans and Ottomans. Just because Dutch has better economy than Ottomans. They got a really powerful infantry unit that they can kite around with the flank war, which is usually pretty good. They got a lot more, I guess, unit variety than most civs do. That's a big one. Yeah, big one actually. So yeah, I mean, I consider Dutch to be a really high-end civ because their late game economy is booming, really is. 30% better gather rate on the plantations and the mills. If you have the settlers on the mills and the slaves on the coin. And then if you have any trees, obviously, the Japanese laborers will just eat those too. Also, contractor bead being in age 1 is like really good. It gives you a lot of tempo growing. Oh yeah, like as long as you have enough food, you can just spam out your wooden coin villagers early and then resume the rest of the food ones after. So yeah, I'm gonna keep Dutch up there, honestly. No reason to really play around with that number. Yeah. Now Danish. Now what do we do with Danish? What do we do with the Danes? I'll put the Danish right over here in C tier, I think. I still think they're better than Lakota probably at this stage, because at least they got some things that they do pretty well in terms of the land soldatar being massable and the early artillery card. Their mercenary decks can still be somewhat runnable. So I think Danish have slightly more skill behind their builds than the Lakota do. Just because they're not dependent off of an obsolete thing like the Bow Rider to do their stuff. They can actually get H2 Falconets, which is quite big. So yeah, I think we're just going to do that there. So now we got Colombia. So Colombia, let's stay Colombia. So to understand Colombia, basically for Colombia, we have to look at something important here, which is the rework of the Voltigero. Yeah, so basically they changed the Voltigero to sort of a scout assault skirmish hybrid now. So now Voltigeros are 2-pop units. They have like double the hit points now. They have more armor in the Pierce, but their hand armor went down a bit. They're way more expensive now. The hand attack is a little bit stronger now. And the charge attack too. And now they have splash. They have 1 splash. So they're actually perform like a Mushatero in melee now, which is quite big. And now they have the hand infantry tag as well. But what they did was they actually ended up reducing the multipliers somewhat. So it's 2x against, it went from 2x against maneuver to 1.5. And then went from 2.5 against heavy infantry to 1.75. Yeah. So, what do we do with Colombia? Do we put them up? Do we put them down? Do we keep them somewhere? Yeah. I mean, I'm almost willing to keep Colombia in this spot. I think we usually put them around here, right? Because I feel like I have been playing around with the new Voltigero, and I just have not seen it make any significant uptick in how they perform. You know, I've gone all out Fast Fortress Voltigero these days, and it just doesn't deliver what I think it's going to deliver, and it's, yeah, I just don't see what's the great news about it, you know? I mean, like, what's new, what's great? I don't see that. Yeah. Pretty much. I guess Kevin RK enjoyed what I put down for Egypt there, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, is there any opposition to Colombia? Is there anybody that thinks that the Voltagero stats, the new ones, are actually better now? Because I don't think they're worse. I think they're kind of in the same place. They just work differently. I think in some situations they're going to do better against mass musketeers in a way they couldn't before. Because I think before the biggest weakness of the Voltagero was massed heavy infantry, like the stuff that Cappy does. But now Voltageros... But here's the problem. If they're a real player that knows how to use stagger mode, they're not going to let you attack 10 musketeers at the same time. They're going to only let you get 1 or 2. So, in that sense, it's like, what difference does it make, you know? Yeah. I mean, I guess the Bear Pierce armor is better. I guess the higher damage output can be better and the hit points. So, yeah. I mean, the shipments of the Voltageos were pretty small and minute anyways, so I mean, I think it's honestly a slight improvement, to be honest. Yeah, definitely. As for China, I think we proved this in an experiment a long time ago that China's better than India. But I don't know how they would do against Serbs and all these other crazy civs, though. Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit questionable there, actually. So I think I'm just going to keep them there for now. Yeah, China gained a lot of things in Wars of Liberty, like a new emergency unit from their villages, stronger consulate stuff, arguably. They got like a mounted assault unit now, in lieu of the Iron Flail, which I think is arguably can be better in a lot of cases. So, yeah. China looking pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll keep them up there. Yep. Chile. I want to put Chile ahead of Paraguay down here for a few reasons. After doing that 3v3 with Ungers, I'm almost confident that Chile is not a A-tier civ. They're probably more in the B-tier category, if anything. Mainly because their army is kind of a little bit stale. It's like stale bread. You know, Civico, Vivandera type stuff is not that great. And you kind of have to think really outside of the box and tactical to win in some battles. So, yeah, that being said, best economy in the game. And they get a new card. This one right here. Let me see if I can pull it up for you right now. It's right over here. El Principio Rojo. It replaces exploding carts with the coolie petards. The coolie sappers. So, what does that mean? So, you don't have to worry about somebody sniping your exploding carts anymore, because now you can just use sappers that are fully fledged infantry to undermine the buildings, and sometimes even do more damage than one exploding cart could do, as long as they can continue to do their job and work on multiple buildings. Yeah. So, yeah, that was definitely a plus. I do think that against Paraguay, a good, strong Chile could usually beat them out with the Civicos and now using the sappers. I think the sappers could be a dangerous problem to Paraguay's works buildings, to be honest. So I'm going to keep them right there, I think. Yeah, 100%. Central America, I'll put them ahead of Italy just because they got some really good eco stuff, and they got a really neat maneuver unit that actually has range multipliers against the scout class, so I'm probably going to put them there. But I definitely don't think they're going to do better than Colombia. I think Colombia across the board is going to do better, especially with the new things done to the Voltagero. So we'll just keep them there for now, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll do that. Yeah, you think Central America should be higher, lower? I think B tier is probably appropriate for Central America. Ooh, it's Cappy. Hi, Juancho. Juancho Benito. Yeah. Put Central America in B tier. Pretty much, yeah. Canada. Well, Canada's definitely an A tier civ. I would probably put them. Good question. What do we do with Canada? I might put them like right, maybe here. Right, sort of in the middle up here. Because I feel like all those civs below could be counted by Canada, but I'm not sure about the ones above. Yeah. We could put Canada higher, but it's going to take some user input, I think, to determine what we do with Canada on that front. Just saying. Yeah. Just saying. 100%. As for Bulgaria, I think Bulgaria is probably in like a realistic match. I might actually start considering Bulgaria to be. I'll put them here. I'll put them in the middle. I think I've put Bulgaria higher in the past, but it's just when you really think about it and you pull it apart, Bulgaria does lack real performance when they're forced to use their regular stuff and not have the Samara banners save them every time. So yeah, I might just put them there for more realistic purposes because I've kind of given them a lot of optimistic views in the past based on how well the Samara banners do, but if those fail, right, you can't sustain Bulgaria effectively. Especially since you have to wait till Imperial Age to get your guard and your Imperial upgrades on units. That is very sour. That's a sour experience. Like I've been in sort of fantasy mode with Bulgaria. Like I've seen, oh yeah, we got a wonderful win with Samara Banner, Seifman, and Hajusi. And once you leave that fantasy world, you realize that you got a big mess to deal with. Big cleanup on aisle 5. If those cards do fail. So, I mean, I just think that we're not going to really be able to put them any higher than that, honestly. Oh, yeah. No, definitely not. British are pretty solid. Pretty solid civ. Question, where do they go here? Here or here? I might put them here. I might put them in this spot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I might put them in that spot, honestly. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so. I think we can put them in that spot. Because we've been seeing some really good Fast Fortress stuff with British lately. And some Fast Industrial in the Rocket, too. The red coats are a lot better than I used to think. The green jackets are great. Yeah. Also the flexibility with the marriage bonuses. Yeah, I think we got to keep British in the A tier because they've been generally performing very well in all sorts of 1v1 and multiplayer games that we see. So that's, I think, is a pretty appropriate one. And then from there, we got Brazil. I'll put Brazil right here. I think they're a B tier civ. I definitely don't think that they're an A tier civ. They still kind of a bit stalled in the 1v1, which is a problem in a team game. They are a bit slow to the plate, I think, you know. They don't go off the ground running in team games either. But I do think you're going to be better than Bulgaria is. You're going to be better off than they are, by far. You know, because at least you got some great military. You got Maud Skirms, you got Skolts, you got Pardos, Conscriptos. You got the units you need. It's just getting to a point where you're able to contribute to the team can be tricky with Brazil just because of their unique setup and the types of upgrade cards that they want and need. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's probably an okay place for them for now. Yeah, pretty much. Bolivia. What do we do with Bolivia? What do we do with Bolivia? What do we do with Bolivia? Bolivia, we can, I would almost say, why don't we put it somewhere up here? Yeah, I might actually put it at the tail end of S tier now. You know why? Because Bolivia before was an A tier civ that had a glaring weakness of having some stalled, muddled early game. But now, they can actually do much better in the early game because now they can actually train additional natives from their embassy that they couldn't before. Before, all they could do was the Kiaruna, right? And any natives on the map. Now they can do Guarani Kachuman and Aymara Bulla riders. So they go from just having a musketeer by default to a musketeer, a skirmisher, and the dragoon, the maneuver. So you get 3 different options now, pretty much. I think that's pretty good. Not only that, but you can research the Guarani and the Aymara technologies from your Sociedad Folklorica now. So it's not just a matter of you getting the native units, but you can actually get their native settlement technologies as well, which in general are pretty okay, you know? I think that's a big consideration. That's like a big jump. And they're available in Age 1 too, so like you can get at least one of those done as your second shipment before you start off in Age 2. Which is great timing because now, at least in a lot of situations, you can save the cost of 200 wood that you might have to put into a barracks or stable to get more units now. Because you're not just spamming muskets anymore. It's like, no, I can do skirms, I can do dragoons. And then obviously if your map has like Shaolin or something like that, then you can add a scout unit in. It's like, whoa, this is really something neat. Yeah, 100%. Very neat. Oh yeah, very neat. Big time. I think Belgium will put we could put Belgium. What do I do with Belgium? I might put Belgium here. I might put Belgium there. Because Belgium definitely belongs in the S tier because of its trade functionality, its access to native warriors, various different strong aspects like that. But after seeing a game we did last night, I think that like if you're a Hades spamming Mushateros or something, Belgium might have a problem. At least about who's playing it. But yeah. Because I just feel like Haiti has some stronger stuff than Belgium does, but Belgium has better control of the trade route. Which is like Belgium is like the king of trade route civs because they have the frontier wagons that can build on the trade route. So I think in that sense, yeah, you got Belgium ahead of like Uruguay, I think, at least in that front. Because I feel like if Belgium can build well on the map, they can be a serious problem to civs like Uruguay. And they can actually compete with Uruguay too. Like if a Belgium can get all the trade route stuff done, they can deny Uruguay that trading post rickshaw from the Arabs from actually doing anything. So, I mean, you got to consider that aspect as well. Big time. Oh yeah, big time. Austria-Hungary. Where's Austria-Hungary in reality? I've been trying them a lot lately, and I'm almost confident putting them right here, right now. Just saying. Just because I feel like they don't really shine out a whole lot anymore. You know what I'm saying? They kind of really nipped the bud on the free hussars with the shipment thing. I just don't feel like they're exceptional at stuff. They do a few things really weird. They're great, like the Siege of Prague, giving them more splash on their mortars. That thing is pretty great. But I don't see anything that jumps out for them anymore, Yeah, it just feels like they're kind of bland. They suffer the same fate as Italy, except that their bonuses lead to more wins than Italy does. That's why I would probably put AH in the B tier. I do think they're better than Chile, though, in early game. Because you can do some sort of line infantry hussar thing now that you couldn't with the Chileans. Yeah, most likely with that one, though. That's why I'm sort of just keeping Austria-Hungary at like the edge of B tier, I think. Because I think they might even deserve it a bit better than Chile. Because, well, Austria-Hungary is a European civ, so they still have a very reliable economy of any European civ. So, yeah, even though Chile does the eco-bear, Austria-Hungary's got the military. They got the cuirassiers, they got the Royal Guard muskets, they got the Royal Guard hussars, got grenadiers, got skirms, got some really powerful mortars. So, yeah, I think that's what we're going to do with that pretty much. Yeah. Australia. I think we're going to do with Australia what we did the last time. We're going to put Australia here probably. Just because, they suffer I think they just are very limited in what they can handle. That game when I was going up against Ringo Zinka really showed me, this Australia stuff is really vulnerable to certain things, and it really can be quite dangerous, pretty much, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Any Australia fans who would say otherwise? I mean, I think Australia does great in team games, and they do great in water maps. But if it's not one of those things, you're going to have a fun time with Australia, especially depending on what units the enemy does. That's my point. Yeah. Argentina, we will put. What should we do with Argentina, actually? That's a great point, actually. What should we do with Argentina? What should we do with Args? Yeah, some weird moth thing came in the room. Just let it fly, I guess. But, I think for Args, like in reality, like a real measurable match, I would say maybe we could put Args like right over here. Yeah, I think so. Just because of early pressure. Like, Args needs time to prepare their food economy still. But it's, like from a real analysis, that is kind of a problem in 1v1 for Args, right? They're not like top of the notch, and yeah, no. Unless you think we could put it behind the Greeks or something. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, out of the box. Yeah. Like, I'm looking at it from more of a critical lens now. Like, yeah, they still lack in infinite scout units. They still need time to set up, prepare. Players can just play into heavy skirm against you sometimes and cause some big problems for them. Yeah, I almost want to put them as like a high B plus tier civ, almost. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of itching between this and this. I don't want to have too many A tier civs. We already have enough of them. And I definitely think Mapuche operate better than the Args do in early game. So, yeah. I I think we're just going to leave them there for now, and if anybody has any particular suggestions, we can maybe move them up or down at any point, I guess. Yeah, pretty much. Might be the way we can do it. Yeah, I think so, honestly. And then USA. We'll put USA here. No, we'll put USA. What do we do at USA? I'll put them right here. I'll put USA in this spot. You know why? I feel like they beat the Danish and Lakota really well, and all the stuff down here pretty okay. But I think once you get to a liable, like, ish from a nation state civ like Romania as well as the Persian one, then things get a bit dicey for them. So I'll put them right there. Yeah, I'll do that. I think that's responsible for USA, because if you're in the right place at the right time with Louisiana Tigers, Texas Rangers, sharpshooters, yeah, USA is phenomenal. But if you don't fit into sort of their requirements of what units they do great against, USA falls behind because their economy is surprisingly not that great. I mean, Canada gets a lot of eco help. They get the log cabins, they get various trickle cards and tax they can get. They get a bank. You know, they get help with stuff. And they got a lot of good eco cards too that USA just does not. So, plus Canada's a team player civ too, which is another one. So yeah, that's why I think we're going to have USA at that juncture there, like the midpoint of C tier. Yeah, pretty much. I think that's basically what we're going to do, in all honesty. I think the biggest thing tonight was me acknowledging that maybe Austria-Hungary and ARG should maybe be in B tier, because they do have some glaring weaknesses that we always seem to overlook and try to ignore, because we want to think of them as like god civs, and it's like, no. Yeah, they buffed the pasture, don't get me wrong, but still, there is setup time. Basically, the way you gotta think about these civs is, how did they deal against Cappy when you end up in a Cappy 1v1 or something? Like, what are your best odds? Like, which ones give you the best odds of all these civs? I think definitely Peru gives you some okay odds. Spain gives you some okay ones. Russians, sure. British, yeah. Canadians, but when you look at things like AH, ARGs, Chile, not so much, you know. They're going to be a bit behind, and that's why we got to close off very early what we consider to be B tier versus A tier, because if I was thinking differently, I could... Yeah, that's the problem. They're kind of like a baby boomer civ. That's why I think high B tier is probably better, because it's like, is Austria-Hungary better than a Haudenosaunee rush or a Mapuche rush or a Greek fish boom? Probably not. I mean, in reality, they're good, but they're not great. And that's why I kind of want to keep them there just behind the ARGs, I think. Because the ARGs, I feel like, have a little bit more going for them in the terms of having tanky muskets, great assault units, mounted skirms, like the Horse Grenadier, the Infernals. ARG's got the cool, unique units, but, yeah. It's probably it, honestly. Yeah. That's why I would say pretty much with that one. Any other sort of flags would you probably move around on here? Because this is at least what I came up with today, making certain assumptions and biases and stuff going into this, and favoring civs a bit more because of their flags and everything. I decided that Mexico should probably stay in the S tier just because of the Irish immigrant card being such a cool, like, addition to them now. I love it when a Lam Civ has an immigrant colony through their home city. It just makes them feel much more better, you know. And I guess maybe that's why we have Colombia lower now, is because they actually took away the technologies from their Colonia Tovar. They still got the units, but not the techs anymore. So it's like, doesn't make me too happy, Spanish immigrants giving you 6 texts, German immigrants with 0, and yeah. I don't know about the Irish, though. But the fact that you can make the San Patricios at the foundry with Mexico is actually really good. Like, actually very good. Like, that was a great idea from the devs. Oh, yeah. I definitely love that idea of theirs, They really knew what they were doing with that. Because now, I think Irish don't work with Mexico. You don't? I'm gonna test it right after this stream. Yeah, I'm gonna look at that and see what that's all about. I'll do a quick match against an AI or something and see what it does. Yeah, it looks like a kind of bug. So it doesn't do anything, or what? Is it like a broken car that's useless, or yeah? It's historically correct, yeah, because of the Patricios that fought during the Mexican-American War against the U.S. Army, helping the Mexicans. I remember that from my history studies growing up. I remember them pretty well. So, yeah. All right, well, I think if we're all set, this might be our tier list for this patch. If they do anything kind of insane with the other patches, we'll probably do another one, right? But otherwise, well, here's the thing. If patch 1.1.2c is anything like this one, yeah, we'll probably be revisiting the tier list once again. Otherwise, it says 12 Zemetries and it only gives... Wow, that's really bad. Okay, now that's a problem. They need to look at that. Big time. So, I think that's the end of the stream, I guess. Signing off now. We'll probably do the next tier list either for 2C if it's quite good. Otherwise, we'll do it for the Middle East patch. Alright, thanks for coming and helping and everything. See you next time.